G'day legends, and it's happened. The Dark Lord has returned after his long-distant retirement. The sun set many moons ago on Jon Jones's career, but something stirred him back to return. No, I'm not. It was 2 weeks, man. 2 weeks. And Jon Jones has lit the MMA world on fire by saying, just re-entered the testing pool. That lasted for about 2 weeks. Figured we'd keep everyone's options open. And he's back. He's back. I've raged out. I've slapped the microphone. He's back. That is what we're going to be covering in today's video. What does this mean? What could this lead to? Some possible theories as to what Jon Jones is doing here. That's what we're going to be reacting to in today's video. So, why has he done this? Why has he put himself back in the testing pool? There are some people out there that think this is just to keep his name in the media, but I don't believe that at all. Listen, if there is one thing that we know about Jon Jones, it's that he hates USADA testers. And I know we're not using USADA anymore, but still, he hates the drug testing companies. He absolutely loathes them. Anytime they come around to his gym, he's under the cage, hiding for apparently 8 hours. I don't know where he went to the bathroom. I don't think he brought his own toilet to go there. You'd get it if you'd watch the live streams. So what is he doing under? Like, we know that he doesn't like that. And then the last incident that we had with Jon Jones versus a court, not the DUI, the one before that one, the second to last incident we had of Jon Jones, not the one where he's in Vegas with his wife. There was one where he's in Vegas with his wife, but then the middle one where he attacked a drug testing agent verbally or physically. There was some physical threatening going on. He wasn't happy to see them. So we know that Jon Jones does not enjoy the presence of drug testing agents around him. So for him to state that I'm back and I'm in the testing pool, just for a little bit of social media clout, doesn't really make sense to me. He must be in the testing pool for a reason. Now, if he is in the testing pool for this reason, what I believe is going on here, it does 100% confirm to me that Jon Jones is a duck, and he did duck Tom Aspinall. He quite literally just did not want to be the UFC heavyweight champ anymore because, as Dana White said repeatedly, that's the fight. You gotta fight Tom Aspinall. It has to be 100% Tom Aspinall. Alex Pereira lost. It's definitely Tom Aspinall. It's definitely Tom Aspinall, not that other Alex Pereira guy. They were angling for a little bit of that. Jones was hoping that he could go in that direction, but once Alex Pereira got, taken out of the picture by Magomed Ankalaev. I know sometimes I say knocked out, taken out, finished off. I mean, like, the fight went to a decision, but he got taken out of the picture by Magomed Ankalaev. Once that happened, Jon Jones had nowhere else to weasel to except into the fist of Thomas Aspinall, the greatest fighting force the world has ever seen without steroids. The greatest fighting force without steroids the world has ever seen. And that's what annoys Jon Jones so much, because Jon Jones bloody loves steroids. Bloody loves them. The fact that we are making all this hype over him re-entering the testing pool, the irony of ironies. I tell you what, mate. But Jones was locked into that Tom Aspinall fight. If you'd watched my video on the timeline events, let's just cover this really quickly. You know that the UFC said yes to $30 million. They said yes to giving it 6 months. They said yes to fighting in November. Like, the UFC were doing everything they can to make that fight. Again, I've made a video of the timeline events that break it down in intricate detail. And he had nowhere to go. He had to fight Tom Aspinall. Well, once he announces his retirement, it's very interesting that now no longer does he have to fight Tom Aspinall, because he is no longer technically the UFC heavyweight champion and the division can move on. It is also very nice and very timely because there is yet another DUI case coming to get Jon Jones. And the UFC and Jon Jones, they're sort of synonymous, you know what I mean? Like, when you say Jon Jones, you think UFC. And the UFC publicly traded... What was that noise? That was meant to be a... But it wasn't. Instead, it just turned into something. Doesn't matter. The UFC, publicly traded company, don't want their heavyweight champion of the world involved in yet another DUI. There's a pantsless prostitute, there's poo everywhere, and Jon Jones is on the phone saying that he's going to kill a police officer. They don't want to deal with that at all. So it's very coincidental that those two things happened at the exact same time. However, now we're a couple of weeks away. You know how the media cycle is. This video being released today is probably 2 days too late. You know what I mean? The world just moves on real quick. So that news is just going to get lost into the meander and the ether that is Jon Jones's entire glorious criminal career. And that's just going to get forgotten about. Now Jon Jones is back in the testing pool. Well. Jon Jones, at 37 years old, can sort of just kick back and watch now at his own leisure. And a lot can happen between Jon Jones being 37 and Jon Jones being 42. That is several years. And in MMA, several years is a world changer. And honestly, coming back in at 42 is not that crazy if you are a heavyweight or a light heavyweight fighter. Like Glover Teixeira had a very successful career as an older man. A lot of MMA heavyweights have still very decent careers as an older man, and because Jon Jones hasn't got the pressure of having to defend the belt on him all the time, he can sit back and watch, and that means you never know what is going to happen. You absolutely never know what is going to happen. Tom Aspinall could get injured. Tom Aspinall could get beaten by Cyril Gane in the first minute. Don't think it will happen. Knock on wood, but anything can happen. And if Tom Aspinall gets beaten, Jon Jones can easily just send out that tweet, here today, gone tomorrow. He was annoying to me. He's You know how he gets. You know how Jon Jones gets. But he can easily send out that tweet and just diminish this whole I was ducking Tom Aspinall thing, because there are still like a 10% of the MMA community that still want to ride and glaze Jon Jones. So he can wait to see what happens with Tom Aspinall. He can wait to see what happens down at light heavyweight. Does Alex Pereira win his belt back? We know Jon Jones is incredibly lean these days. Could he make the push to go back to light heavyweight again and reclaim that title? Once Max Holloway is done with Dustin Poirier, if Dustin Poirier wins, Dustin Poirier could win. Why am I bringing this up? Let me Chael Sonnen. I bring you this because if Dustin Poirier beats Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier could retire with the BMF belt. And in 2 years' time, in 1 year time, the UFC could bring the BMF belt back again out of retirement, just like they did with Masvidal. Like, Masvidal never fought, never competed for the BMF belt. He retired with the belt, and then the belt just sort of reappeared again as a vacant belt in the UFC in a completely different division. Now, do I like the BMF belt? No, I think it's childish. But it's something that we've seen the UFC do before and use as a tool to market champions that aren't good enough to be the champ anymore. Now, I'm not saying there's never going to be a time in the future where Jon Jones will never be good enough to be the light heavyweight champ, or maybe the heavyweight champ again. Who knows? Again, if Cyril Gane gets it off Tom Aspinall, then Jon Jones knows that he can smash Cyril Gane and out wrestle him. But this does do exactly what Jon Jones is. Oh, let me get back to the BMF belt. Jon Jones could also set up a fight at a catchweight with the BMF belt, right? With the BMF belt. Like, he is contracted to the UFC for 4 more fights. He can't fight anywhere but in the UFC. And being outside of the Tom Aspinall fight means that there is time for heavyweight to percolate in whatever direction it needs to. There is time for light heavyweight to percolate in whatever direction it needs to. With the BMF belt maybe getting retired next week, who knows? This is all just the play of MMA. There is this BMF belt floating around in the ether that might not be getting used in 2 or 3 years' time. And Jon Jones at 37 years old doesn't mean he can't have 1 or 2 more fights in the UFC at a later date with something that is that perfect stylistic matchup that only the MMA GOAT would choose to have. You know, because the MMA GOAT, Mr. I'll fight anyone, anywhere, anytime, except for that guy, Tom Aspinall. And that guy, Dominic Reyes, again. Yeah, I won't fight him, mate. Yeah, no, like, I'm not fighting those guys. No, absolutely not. But Jon Jones, Mr. I'll fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. You know, except Francis Ngannou. When Francis is moving, I won't fight that guy either. No, I really need to bulk up to heavyweight and do it properly. Let me get a couple of beers, mate. That's Jon Jones, you know, Mr. the GOAT of MMA. He'll fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. But jumping back into the testing pool gives him these options. Allows him to look at these options. And the UFC, 100%, are going to let him do this because this is just the way that Jon Jones has always been. He gets what he wants, then he pulls back and goes and hides in the shadows until the better stylistic matchup pulls up, and then he re-emerges and calls himself the GOAT that no one can play with. Like, Jon Jones's entire MO is to understand the art of war. Do not enter a battle that you are most likely not going to win. And that is why whenever he runs over somebody or gets into a car incident, or whenever there is an opponent in front of him that he doesn't like the matchup of, Jon Jones just runs away. Because running away is not technically a loss. It doesn't say on Jon Jones's Tapology, lost to Tom Aspinall. It doesn't say drunk driver with pantsless prostitute. These are all all just things that we can speculate about. But in the history books, they're not there because Jon Jones is an evil, psychopathic, narcissistic genius. And it's easier to run away and say, I would have won, but I can't even be bothered. I can't even be bothered with the fight, but I absolutely would have won. And then you get that 10% of Jon Jones fans that are just like, he would have. He absolutely would have. He's the best. Yeah, that's Jon Jones's MO. So this makes sense to me. Just depends on the landscape over the next 2 or 3 years in which direction Jon Jones wants to go. The reaction to Jon Jones coming back has not been friendly at all. The fans are absolutely sick of him. This is Jon Jones. I can move this out of the way so I can still be on the screen. This is Jon Jones's his own fans' reaction. Yeah, his own Twitter account reaction. Just straight up gay. Shut the fuck up. Jones at the White House only makes sense. No other American champs right now. Merab Divalashvili. Okay, mate. Welcome your immigrants. Jon Jones willing to vacate the heavyweight title for super fights with Jamal Hill and Derek Lewis. Again, getting laughed at, because, Derek Lewis isn't exactly a super fight. Did he scare you, John? Yes, he did. He scared you and you ran away. How about fighting Francis Ngannou in Saudi Arabia for a shit ton of money? Can't happen. Francis Ngannou isn't signed to the UFC, although who knows what will happen next year. You would fight Aspinall for $25 million, or is that not good enough? Yep. You aren't the champ of any division right now, so you'll need a few fights before being given a title shot. He literally doesn't want a title shot. He doesn't want a title shot. That's the thing. Genius. He knows how to play the game of making a legacy. Jon Jones D. Writer. There you go. At least there's one. This is what I mean. It's about 10% of people that still... But otherwise, he is just getting absolutely hated on. Hated on. You are a joke at 37. Tommy would make you look like an amateur. Yeah? So this is only for real fighters. Yeah? Hello, John. He is getting absolutely shat on by, I don't know if it's his own fan base, but most of the UFC MMA community is just giving it to Jon Jones, and they should. He has openly and plainly ducked the fight with the harder, bigger, younger guy so that he can sit back and wait for the right matchmaking opportunity to be presented to him. And I sincerely hope that just because the UFC were willing to pay him $30 million for this fight, he doesn't go back to Dana White and say, I want my big money for this. I hope when he goes back to Dana White, he's back on his regular contract, which is still something like $7 million per fight plus pay-per-view points. Like, it's still a great amount of money for an absolute coward and a duck in Jon Jones. But there we go. That's my sort of take and reading of the landscape of Jon Jones's big return to combat sports. Let me know what you think about it down there in the comments. If this is your first time here, then g'day and welcome. My name is Dougie, and I make an MMA video every day of the week. And I try and go live at least 3 times a week. I don't make a video on Saturday and Sunday. Them's for the Lord, mate. Every working day of the week, I make a video. So if you want to know when I go live and you want to know when a new video comes out, you just hit that notification and subscription button down there. Leave a like on the video. Let me know if you think I've got anything wrong by putting it down there in the comments, or just calling me an idiot, or just saying, good video, Dougie, really liked that one. And if you're one of the paying members of the channel, thank you so much. You are a bloody legend. Your names are up on the next slide. And until then, I will see you all in the next video. Peace. Goodbye. Thanks, guys. See ya.